To conclude the 102nd annual NFL season, here are 102 facts about the NFL as a whole. Fact number 1. We know how CTE can affect NFL players, but did you know that they are also 3 to 4 times more likely to contract Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and the Lou Gehrig's disease than an average American? Fact number 2. Phoenix is the only city to ever have a complete sports equinox, where all 4 major sports teams from their city played on the same day. This happened on November 4th, 2001, where the Cardinals, Coyotes, Suns, and Diamondbacks all played. The Diamondbacks were the only team to win, which was also Game 7 of the World Series. 3. A man from North Carolina owns the only known recording of Super Bowl I, since CBS and NBC never saved it. The NFL countered his $1 million offer for the taping with just $30,000. They then later refused it altogether, but warned that he'd face legal action if the tape is sold to someone else. Fact number 4. The NFL bans firearms, ammunition, and feminine hygiene products from commercials and advertisements. 5. Legend Herschel Walker is known to have multiple personalities and doesn't remember getting the Heisman Trophy because of it. 6. In 2014, Microsoft and the NFL made a 5-year, $400 million deal to use the Microsoft Surface as the official tablet of the NFL, but announcers and commentators kept calling them iPads. 7. The NFL once threatened to sue churches for having Super Bowl parties. 8. The Minnesota Vikings are the only team to have an actual human as their mascot. Ragnar is his name. 9. In the strike-shortened season of 1987, the NFL used replacement players. The Redskins used a quarterback who was on work furlough from prison. 10. There are still 4 teams in the entire NFL that still haven't been to a Super Bowl. The Cleveland Browns, Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, and Jacksonville Jaguars. Fact number 11. Super Bowl 50 is the only Super Bowl to not use Roman numerals. 12. Water boys in the NFL make an average of $53,000 a year. 13. Chuck Hughes is the only NFL player to ever die on the field in 1971. One of his arteries was almost completely blocked and he died of a heart attack. 14. There are no laws to keep the NFL or any other sports league from fixing their games for more revenue. 15. The NFL moved the 1993 Super Bowl from Arizona after they voted against recognizing Martin Luther King Day. 16. Former Supreme Court Justice Byron White had his Byron White NFL Award won by Michael McCrary, a man who White ruled in favor of after McCrary was rejected by a private school. 17. Actor Terry Crews was once upon a time an NFL player. He was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams in the 11th round of the 1991 draft and went on to play for 5 seasons. Fact number 18. Former NFL player Demetrius Bell is actually the son of NBA legend Karl Malone. Fact number 19. After 13 seasons in the NFL, Larry Fitzgerald still went back to graduate from college. 20. All NFL teams have contingency plans in place in case of a large number of players are killed or injured in an accident. 21. Although an NFL game is 60 minutes, there's only really 10.5 minutes of action. Commercials, replays, and media coverage makes up the rest of the game. 22. Over 70% of former players go bankrupt or are under financial stress just 2 years after retirement. 23. NFL cheerleaders are only paid $50 a game. 24. In a 1988 playoff game between the Philadelphia Eagles and Chicago Bears, the fog was so thick that players couldn't see the sidelines and fans couldn't even see the field. Refs had to announce what happened after every play. 25. The longest recorded field goal in college football, being a 69-yard field goal, is still longer than the NFL's 66-yard record. 26. Troy Apke in 2021 became the first white cornerback since Jason Sehorn in 2002. 27. Deion Sanders is the only player to hit a major league home run and score a touchdown in the NFL in the same week in 1989. 28. Deion Sanders is also the only player to play in the Super Bowl and World Series. 29. When former NFL player Darren Sproles was a kid, his little league put in a rule where he wasn't allowed to run sweeps simply because he would score every time. 30. Theoretically, if every NFL game finished with a tie, the playoffs would be determined by a coin flip. 31. The NFL has been considered a non-profit organization for quite some time, and that also kept them from paying taxes. 32. The Green Bay Packers are the only non-profit community-owned NFL team. 33. If a disaster were to ever happen to a team, the NFL would hold a disaster draft. 34. Unfortunately, Former wide receiver Brandon Marshall was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder in 2011, and he is now an advocate for the mentally ill. 35. ESPN once had a show called Playmakers that showed the lives of a football team. The NFL pressured them into canceling the show after 11 episodes because they thought it negatively portrayed the players. 36. NFL legend Darryl Green, who played 20 seasons, used to put Tootsie Rolls in his socks claiming that it made him run faster. 37. During the 1958 NFL Championship game, an NBC employee posed as a fan to run onto the field and delay the game because the TV feed went dead. 38. The CenturyLink field for the Seattle Seahawks is so loud that the NFL once investigated whether the team was pumping artificial noise into the stadium. Fact 39. It takes 3,000 cows to supply the NFL with enough footballs for a year. 40. Former receiver Steve Smith left his cleats on the field after every game to raise awareness about homeless people without shoes. 41. Former Bengals punter Pat McKinley is the only player to ever have a perfect score on the NFL's Wonderlic test. 42. If an NFL team didn't sell enough tickets for a game, it can prevent the game from being broadcasted within a certain radius to force people to actually buy tickets to the game. 43. NFL players have been fined up to $5,000 for simply giving away the game ball to fans. 44. There's a rumor that the Minnesota Vikings are cursed for losing an NFL championship trophy by the spirit of Ed Thorpe, who is a referee and friend of early NFL owners. 45. The Pittsburgh Steelers were the first team to have cheerleaders. 46. American Samoans are 56 times more likely to be in the NFL than most Americans. 47. All NFL owners split and share the billions of dollars made in revenue. 48. Close to 70% of NFL construction costs for stadiums come from taxpayer money. 49. Jason Brown, who was the highest paid center in the NFL in 2009, quit after bringing in $25 million in order to become a farmer and donate food. 50. Alex Smith was so smart that he entered college as a junior and already had a bachelor's degree and began working on his master's prior to becoming the first overall pick in 2005. 51. Former NFL player Amobi Okoye is the youngest to ever play in the NFL after being drafted by the Houston Texans while still being just 19 years old. 52. Quarterback Russell Wilson can trace his lineage all the way back to 524 AD. 53. The shortest-lived team in NFL history was the Tonawanda Cordix Lumbermen. They only played one game. 54. In 2011, thousands of fans in Detroit petitioned to prevent Nickelback from playing at an NFL Thanksgiving Day halftime show. 55. John Matuszak, who was Sloth in the Goonies, was a number 1 overall pick in the draft and went on to win 2 Super Bowls with the Oakland Raiders. 56. Despite the NFL being majority black, the top scorers in league history are all white. They're kickers. 57. The NFL owns and enforces the trademark for the term Super Bowl. 58. In the 60s and 70s, professional bowlers made twice as much money as NFL stars. 59. The NFL owns the licensing rights to every team except the Dallas Cowboys. The NFL sued Jerry Jones for $300 million for it in 1995, but Jones later countersued for $750 million. 60. The Rock almost made the NFL but fell just short and moved on to wrestling and acting. 61. Tom Brady's wife Giselle has a net worth of almost twice as much more compared to him. 62. The NFL actually once made EA Sports remove features from the Madden games such as end zone celebrations and a realistic stadium attendance. 63. Randall Cobb was the first NFL player born in the 1990s. 64. The NFL is recognized as an entertainment business rather than a sport. 65. John Madden was once offered unlimited stock after the first Madden game but declined it. He later said it was one of the dumbest things that he ever did in his life. 66. ESPN pays the NFL $1.8 billion to air Monday Night Football. 67. NFL legend Walter Payton originally did not want to play high school football simply because his brother played and he didn't want to compete with him. 68. Marcus Allen is the only player to ever win a Heisman, national title, MVP, Super Bowl, and Super Bowl MVP. 69. Tom Dempsey, a man born with a club foot, used to be the NFL record holder for longest field goal of 63 yards. 70. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who's now with the Jets, was once studying medicine while playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. 71. Terry Bradshaw only got to start in college simply because the starting quarterback forgone his senior season to step away from playing football. 72. The 1972 Miami Dolphins are still the only team to win a Super Bowl with a perfect season. 73. Over 50% of retired players have said that they've used painkillers during games, and 3/4 of those players have said that they have abused them as well. 74. For an extra income while in the NFL, Terry Crews used to paint portraits for his teammates. 75. Over 90% of NFL players have dealt with CTE based on brain studies. 76. The NFL once stopped a $16 million study into the link between brain damage and football. 77. John Madden used to have a fear of flying and would use buses to travel a lot. 78. The first African American NFL player, Kenny Washington, and the first African American Major League Baseball player, Jackie Robinson, were on the same college football team at one point. 79. The NFL gives only 5% of the proceeds from Breast Cancer Awareness Month to charity. 80. Mark Davis, owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, is worth over $500 million and still drives a 1997 truck. 81. Former NFL referee Ed Hockley was actually a lawyer who refereed games on the side. 82. Former NFL quarterback Todd Marinovich left the NFL due to drug problems and didn't play football for 8 years before going to the Arena Football League. He would throw 10 touchdowns in his first game back. 83. Brett Favre played for so long that he was the only active NFL player with a grandchild in 2010. 84. Bill Belichick is still the only coach in the NFL who refuses to have his likeness and name used in Madden. 85. The NFL can't host games on Friday and Saturday until late December due to a federal law that keeps pro leagues from competing with high school and college football. 86. The NFL requires fields to be built either facing north, south, or in the shade so the sun doesn't interfere with play. 87. Former player Brian Bosworth once sold Broncos fans shirts that said "Ban the Boz" without them even knowing it was him. 88. Former quarterback David Carr admitted in 2006 to deflating footballs, and the NFL did absolutely nothing. 89. In 1999, Orlando Brown was hit in the eye by a penalty flag, and this caused him to miss 3 seasons due to partial blindness. He would sue the NFL for $15 to $20 million. 90. After Pat Tillman turned down $3.9 million to join the Army, a fellow Ranger did a walk for Pat to raise that exact amount for his foundation. 91. The NFL has sued over 36 insurance companies in an attempt to cover the claims that players made against the league for failing to protect the players from brain injuries. 92. Austin, Texas is the biggest city in the United States without a single major sports team. 93. The last time a team scored 60 points in a game was in 2011, where the Saints won 62-7 over the Indianapolis Colts. 94. Andrew Whitworth is just the 3rd player in NFL history to start in the Super Bowl while being 40 years old or older. The other 2 is Jerry Rice and Tom Brady. 95. The Arizona Cardinals had the longest playoff victory drought in NFL history, spanning from 1948 to 1998. 96. The NFL and the Chicago Bears were named on the same day, June 24, 1922. 97. An NFL player by the name of Sammy Baugh, who played for the Washington Redskins, led the league in passing, punting, and interceptions in 1943. 98. The 2000 Baltimore Ravens had a 5-game stretch where they didn't score a touchdown and their only points came from field goals. They went 2-3 in that span. 99. In 1992, the NFL actually experimented with 2 bye weeks. 100. Jerry Rice, Brett Favre, and Tom Brady are the only non-kickers to play in more than 300 NFL games. 101. Walter Payton only ever won 1 rushing title in his entire NFL career. And finally, 102. The last player to ever win the Super Bowl and the MVP in the same season was Kurt Warner with the St. Louis Rams in 1999.